Microaggressions.
I've experienced a lot of microaggressions.
Whether intentional or unintended, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative messages to targeted persons and groups.
An unconscious comment or behavior.
Solely based on their marginalized group identity.
It's a type of behavior that people engage in.
For the receiver, that's the targeted person, these slights can have a demeaning effect, essentially causing a person to feel less than or inferior.
And that shouldn't have to be the case. I shouldn't have to fear being approached by a complete stranger.
In this society, microaggressions are often discussed around issues of race and racism. However, any marginalized group in our society may be a target.
Which is one of the things I think that people aren't aware of.
And that, for example, could be women, those that identify as being gay, lesbian, religious minorities, people of color. So what's the big deal? It's the accumulation of slights against a person. Even the hardest rock can be worn down by water.
Because it's probably something that starts outside of a college campus within a home.
Research indicates that they can have a detrimental impact on the psychological health of marginalized groups and individuals.
You know, I'm valid as a person.
Microaggressions deliver a hidden message that lies often outside the level of consciousness of the perpetrator.
You guys put it together?
Honestly, that's all right, though. I honestly don't care if people actually, you know what I'm saying?
Hello, everyone. Sorry for running late. I assume that you all had time to read the chapter for this week. Would anyone care to explain what it was about? Yes, Jane.
This chapter discussed the fundamentals of how
Psychology and how it connects with our society.
That's an excellent point, Sean. Would you care to elaborate?
Sure. So the author goes into great detail about how no matter what setting you're in, whether it be professional or educational or social or casual, anything like that, it's really important to have.
Although they may seem subtle or even normal, microaggressions should not be taken casually. What you just saw in the previous scene is just a fraction of what microaggressions are. So why do they persist? What's at the root of the problem?
So hi, my name's Jade. I'm a sophomore RTF major at Rowan University. I've experienced a lot of microaggressions. Well, let's face it, it's really hard being a black student in a mostly white college. Oh, you know, you got into all of your schools, right? Yeah, of course I did. I studied, I got good grades, I did well on my SATs. It's probably because you're black. It's totally invalidating because you spend your entire high school career, your entire academic career trying to get into some kind of school because at least that's what society tells you to do, that college is the right choice. Just because of affirmative action, you're going to get into school. You're going to get into school with a giant scholarship, and that's not the way it is. On the other side of microaggressions, a lot of it is, you know, my appearance. I get a lot of, oh, you're really cute for a black girl. Why? Why would you have to, quantify my appearance like that? I lived and I grew up in a white suburb. I was the only black kid in a lot of my classes, and I've basically been told my entire life that white people will be and are prettier than you and will be forever. You know, I'm valid as a person. So just to hear, oh wow, you're cute for a black girl. I don't have European features at all. For almost 20 years, because of that, I mean nothing. But now I know that's not true. All right, so I'm cuter than what you think black people are. So does that really mean I can identify as a black person because I'm not stereotypical? Where do I fall? I'm too black to be white, I'm too white to be black, and there's nowhere for me. No one really thinks that it's wrong. No one sits and says, wow, I shouldn't be making such wild assumptions or saying these things out loud or doing these things. We're all people. We all speak different ways. We all look differently. And you can't just categorize all of us by maybe the 5 people you've encountered in your life, or however so many.
So, where did the term microaggression come from? In 1970, Chester M. Pierce, a psychiatrist and Harvard University professor, coined the term microaggression. At the time, he used the term to describe the frequent insults he witnessed against the African American community, therefore racial microaggressions. Psychologist and Columbia University professor Dorald Wing Su has described microaggressions as brief, everyday exchanges that send denigrating messages to certain individuals because of their group membership. Microaggressions frequently come up on college campuses. They can happen whenever and wherever, in a public or private setting. They can happen in person or even online. Microaggressions just don't happen among students to students. It can happen between a faculty member and a student, and between faculty to faculty. Critics of the microaggression theory will say that a person is being too sensitive. But the issue really lies in respecting each other.
Hi, my name's Gina. I'm a student here at Rowan University, and there have been a number of times where I've experienced forms of microaggression. One in particular is when I'll be walking to or from classes, and I'll have a group of males behind me or walking towards me that will say inappropriate or crude remarks, most likely like catcalling. It's a form of microaggression that I don't think should even exist, because if the roles were reversed and I was the person walking towards someone, there's no doubt in my mind that I would even bother saying things of that nature. I'm not really sure how this microaggression could stop, because it's probably something that starts outside of a college campus within a home. But if we can do something to prevent it in a college atmosphere, I'm going to have to assume that talking about it and making it aware to everyone in the area is the best way to handle it, because it's affecting people's feelings, and both mentally and physically maybe, and emotionally. There was a time where I saw a gay couple, two men, holding hands, minding their complete own business, and three guys were standing behind them and started saying the K-I-S-S-I-N-G song, Sitting in a Tree, and they referred to them as fags. I could tell that they were bothered by it. They walked a little faster, but they didn't really pay them any attention, which I think was a good move on their behalf. The people making the rant noticed that I was mad. I didn't actually verbally say anything. It was more or less giving them a dirty look, but it was something that I wanted to not see again, and I'm pretty sure I made that pretty clear. If this person approached me this day, I had to find another route to class. If I had to have any form of anxiety or fear within myself, just walking to my math class or my English class, that shouldn't have to be. I mean, what have I done to them to provoke me in that way? And what are they gaining as an individual by doing this? It just doesn't make much sense. If anything, it's a source of fear, and it's pretty upsetting.
Despite the fact that this behavior is often unintentional or done through the lack of awareness by the perpetrator, microaggressions do and can belittle the target individual or group. Because most of us feel that we are good people, it can be difficult for us to recognize our biases and prejudices. Examining or owning up to them can threaten our self-image. People may engage in avoidance in talking about issues surrounding sexism, racism, heterosexism, all of the isms. Not engaging in or denying or not talking about these issues when they do come up, or deflecting a conversation, essentially silences the voices of the oppressed.
So we're going to talk a little bit about microaggressions.
Yes.
I don't know, I think it might help to just kind of define our terms, and one of the things I think about in relationship to microaggression is that it's a type of a behavior that people engage in. Oftentimes they're unaware of what it is that they're actually doing, and it's ambiguous to the person who's the receiver, so that they don't quite know whether it was something that was an intentional slight against them or an insult against them or not.
Microaggressions are oftentimes falling into the category of almost an unconscious comment or behavior.
And I think one of the things that happens when people are engaging in the behavior is if it comes to their awareness that something has been said or done that the other person feels is a microaggression, they oftentimes will deny it because, in their opinion, they thought that, it's kind of making a lot out of nothing.
We know that cumulative stressors over time, which is one of the definitions of microaggressions and their impacts, in fact, compound to affect people's immune systems, and that contributes to problems with chronic conditions like diabetes, heart disease, asthma, for example.
I was thinking about just what are some of the solutions, and I was just thinking about one of the things I was reading up on some of Wang Su's work, and it talked about true power lying in a group's ability to redefine their reality. So, for example, when you have a group like women who are struggling with their body image, and they go into defining the movement of body positive, that's like a redefinition of seeing their body as something negative to something positive.
That's right, and it's not just the people who are marginalized and who are oppressed by these microaggressions who have responsibility to reclaim their identities for themselves, but of course the people who are engaging in those microaggressions and are in fact invalidating the reality of those groups that they are oppressing in those careless ways, who need to take a reckoning of their own position of privilege.
And I think when we do that, I think one of the things that happens is we have to really take a careful look at how many times we're complicit and how many times we are going under the radar as being in a particular group, because it's safer for us to just allow things to be said that we should be confronting about.
It's an important problem for all of us to try to communicate about, even as it creates discomfort and as it creates fear and anxiety, the fear and anxiety, guilt, humiliation that is possible not only for those people who are being aggressed against, but for those people who are engaging in those microaggressions, is harmful to them as well.
To stop or interrupt a microaggression, one must first realize that it's even happening, and then be able to confront that behavior tactfully. Let's see how this situation should have played out.
Hello everyone, sorry for being late. I assume that you all had time to read the chapter this week. Would anyone care to explain what it was about? Yes, Jane.
This chapter discussed the fundamentals of
Psychology and how it connects with our society.
Sean, I believe that Jane was speaking. Please allow her to continue.
Thank you. This chapter delved into how psychology connects with our society. It also talked about how important psychology is in everyday life.
The behavior was addressed. The professor immediately stepped in, and Jane was able to be heard. There is no single way to deal with microaggressions. The key here is awareness and communication.
Make it known to your friends, your family, anybody.
Let the consequences of it be known. The lack of confidence, depression, or even the feeling of inferiority.
Together, we can educate people on microaggressions and help prevent them from happening.